About an inch down.
Yeah.
And what are you using there? For
it's artificial sinew.
Oh, okay.
You ever watch the farm shows?
It's actually
no,
waxed linen thread.
Okay.
But it's called artificial sinew.
They start talking about how much gold crop they have in their silo.
And that's the beginning of the head.
What do you think?
And then I just take other corn husks, kind of fold them, and then just wrap it around.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Oh.
When they start talking about China and Russia, they have crop that they're it's really kind of interesting. So I never thought of farming as that type of business, being a market business.
When he pull and spread out.
They're a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Like having big businesses.
Because they didn't go on vacations or much. You know, but then when the kids got older.
And where did you learn this technique?
I learned it from my grandmother.
Okay.
Years ago.
No, we don't put
I'm 74 years old.
Actually, when
My grandmother taught me when I was about 12.
There was a time when the parents had a hard time getting all the
Make your own little dolls.
Oh, yeah.
Women had to do their jobs, and men had to do their
Now I
the
just
flowers in her hair.
pull it
so she
open.
took care of herself,
Sure.
making herself, you know, have a very pretty outfit. Forgot
Push down.
watching children. So
Do you dunk them in water a little bit, just
Yeah,
so
oh,
they're
yeah,
a little
these-
pliable?
These are soaked in water. Otherwise, they'd be.
Well, she thought the front herself thought the cradle sound.
Otherwise, they're too brittle.
Right,
He asked her
right.
what it was her
And they
responsibility.
they won't
So she would
Right.
never forget
bend as well.
Sure.
And the corn we use is the white corn.
The white,
So that's the reason why
okay.
we don't put any faces on our corn.
Sweet corn husk does not work well,
Uh-huh.
I would like to
but
The white corn does.
this white corn husk works really good. I've used
And how long does it take to dry normally? A week or two?
about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Because what you're really waiting on is more for the head to dry than anything else.
Sure, because it's so layered.
Right. And then on the arms, they're wrapped,
Well, Oneida is a matriarch.
and so they take a while to dry too.
Longhouse
I end up with a lot of heads and arms.
Okay.
Yeah, so. And if I can find my ruler.
We didn't grow up with our
Oh, right here.
Okay. Because I try to make them all the same size, pretty much, because we like to work with that size. We make some that are bigger and taller, like what she's got over there.
Otherwise, the seamstress won't get it right.
Right, so this is my, and a person's arms, if you put your arms out like that, it says how tall you are. So that's how we figure out what their arms. However, our head is this long, the arms are this long, and then the whole body is that long.
White and heavy and so like my mom's hat.
The head is how long? Then how do you?
No, he's
Well, that
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah.
general. General.
Oh, I see. Okay. And then with
It's just wrapping and tying, a lot of wrapping and tying.
She says the northern part is Sault Ste. Marie on the other side of the dirt.
now that's the elbow or
That's going to be the middle of
My ex-husband is
the middle of the arms. I'm making both arms at the same time.
and their reservation is both. Yeah, so they can really go. But
I thought that would be cool to have
no.
Yeah,
citizenship
here.
record.
That she's doing right there.
So I'm making the arms.
Yeah, well, they can. I know they can do theirs, but I tell them. I always tell them, be careful, 'cause you know one day it's gonna get.
Sorry, I got to get wet.
No, that's okay.
I wonder if it'll come to that or if they'll start to recognize now.
Well, I'm glad you laughed about it anyway.
What else can I do?
I can't get
We
that.
stand up and go, oh, bad dictators doing your own life. Read the histories, right?
So that's the arms.
How are you?
Yeah.
Good.
Hello.
Today's a nice day.
It's a beautiful day. Then this just goes in the middle.
Hi, Charlie. My name is.
Okay.
And that's the arms are in.
Yeah.
And then you want to secure that. So then this is like
Kenny's still going.
husk, and it's just crisscross around the front, back, back again. And we do a couple of those. And then I just go the opposite side, from the front, back, up over the front again.
You know, there's two things I think that are very, very important in regards to we as human beings. What separated us from the animal kingdom? Why did we become so superior to the animals? Because a lot of them can run faster, jump higher, do a lot of things better than we can do. But one of the things I think, or two of the things that I think are very important that human beings learned how to do that really separated us tremendously from the animal kingdom. The first one was language, our ability to communicate abstract thought to one another. Animals have the ability to communicate, but not to the degree that we do. The second thing that I think is really important is their ability to make fire. Because as far as I know, there's no animal yet that's able to make a fire at will. And they don't, as far as I know, they don't even use fire. It's only human beings. And those two things, once we learn that, really put this big distance between us and the animal kingdom. Now, fire making. Important is wood, basswood. And basswood you can find in the hobby shops because it's a wood that has a real tight grain to it, and it's a very, very soft wood. It's soft, and so making a fire with this is a lot easier than using hardwood. I've tried hardwood before, and it's very, very hard to do because it's hard to get the ash that you need ultimately to make the fire. So, another thing I want to mention is this board that I'm using. It's going to take you out in the woods 3 or 4 lifetimes to find a piece of wood like this. Okay? This obviously has a saw. I cut it up with a saw. And I did that because it's much easier for people to make a fire using this type of board, especially with the little V's cut in here. Long ago, of course, what native people did, a couple of ways. One, they tied two round dowels, if you will, together, and right in the middle begin to spin the other spindle, and that's where the ash was formed. This way, when I spin this up here very, very fast, the ash falls down into the V, and it's kept condensed in there. And the reason I do this is I don't want people to get discouraged with making fires. Once you learn that you can actually do it, then you start experimenting with other ways of doing it. So this here, I have found, is the easiest way to get a fire going. Now you need tinder. Long ago, our ancestors, their tinder of choice was this. This is the inner bark of the cedar tree. The inner bark of the cedar tree. The problem with this is most people don't have cedar bark laying around their lodges, their houses. Long ago, we used cedar for a lot of things, for our canoes, for our baskets, for everything. So cedar bark was readily available, but it has to break down for about 2 to 3 years to get to this consistency. Because ultimately you strip it off the outer bark and you crush it in your hands until it gets really fine. This is very, very flammable because it has a resin, it has that pitch in it. So, people have asked me over the years in making fires if I had any to sell. So I started making them to sell, but the one thing I found out is people would burn up their tinder too fast. They had no place to get cedar bark. So experimenting around, I found this. You can buy this material in a hardware store. This is called jute, but it's gardener's jute. To tie up your tomato plant, for instance, you don't want to use a string that has chemicals in it. So a gardener's jute is just plain jute. Well, what you have to do is take this little spool for $1.50 and you get 15-inch lengths, cut it with a scissors, and then pull that 3 strands apart. So they're all single strand. Then take a wire brush and wire brush it, and what you'll get is a ton of this material. Okay, you'll never ever run out again of your fire starting material. However, you can use grass, you can use pine needles, anything that's very, very dry you could use, all right? So, another thing you're going to need is something hard. You know, you could use a shell. You could use a clam shell, you could use another piece of wood. What I started making was stones with a hole in them like this. And the question's always, well, Nick, how'd you put that hole in it? Well, I have a mason drill, okay? And I drilled a hole in it. And so this will last forever. But long ago, of course, this was probably a prized item. This is one of the things that you took along with you from village to village. Because you needed this. You'll see how I use this. I use this in the palm of my hand to hold this spindle tightly to the wood as I'm spinning it. And if I didn't do that, of course, I'd hurt my hand. So, next thing I have is a bow. This bow is typically, it's a hardwood. In other words, it'll bend fairly nicely without snapping, without breaking. Your spindle, if you're going to make them, should be just a little under 5/8 inch diameter. Very important, because if you make them too big, as you're trying to spin it, it spins too slow. And the smaller it gets, the faster it'll spin. The faster it goes, of course, the more friction you get. So, like these young boys, and I always tell the young boys to put their hands together like this and rub them. You see, that's friction. And even your hands get warm. Okay, what I'm going to be doing here is the same thing. Only I'm going to be spinning it very, very fast.
Can I hold your mic for you?
And holding it, going to be holding it down with that stone. And it should generate a lot of heat. The ash ultimately will fall down in here, and what it'll do is fall onto this dry tinder that I have. And then what I'll do is once it's on here, I'll fold this in half like this, like a taco, an Indian taco, by the way, and then blow on it. And then this should burst into flame. When this comes into flame, this is your match. So this would be put into your birch bark or whatever. So here we go. I want you to watch very, very closely. This here, when we get ready to do a class, for those of you that want to try to do a fire, this is going to be one of the hardest things to do, is taking this spindle like this and just giving it one twist on here. Believe it or not, most people will have a hard time with that. You know why that is? Why that is because over time, your ancestors and mine oftentimes lost the ability to really see what's going on. You know, your ancestors like mine long ago, when they left their dwelling, they had to be very cognizant of what was going on around them. The slightest change, a rock being moved, a bush moving, you know, too much, we had to be aware of that. Otherwise, you know, we could be in jeopardy with our lives. So, here's what I do, again, and I'll show you. I just hold it like this, give it a little twist, and now it's ready to go. I just turn it over, it's ready to go. All right? So now I'm going to take my tinder, I'll roll it up, and I'll make a little bird's nest. Put a little indentation. This is where my ash, I want my ash to go, and then I fold it like that. So I want it to end up there. So I'll set it down here. Since I'm going to be using this particular area right here, I want that ash to end up right in the center, so I'll put this right here. Now, placing your foot very solidly on this board is really important. And I like to go about an inch away from the hole that I'm going to be using, the area that I'm going to be using. About 1 inch away from there. Because when I put this on, like this, set it down, right here, put the stone on, my knee is the anchor, is the brace. Because once you start spinning it like this, that spindle should stay straight up and down. If it's wobbling, if you're out here and it's wobbling, you're not going to get a fire, okay? So you hold, pull your wrist into your shin and start spinning it back and forth. Taking your time at first. And it won't take very long before you begin to see smoke. Now smoke, of course, is a good sign,
Good smell.
right? It's a good sign. Now you got a little smoke here. You keep it moving. Now you might want to press down a little bit, and you might want to go a little faster. So we speed up. Now, when I think I have that V just about filled up, I'll stop. Lift my foot off very carefully, and then very gently tap that ash out, and it should stay smoking. Just about got one going here. I fold it up, blow on it. Take that one out. Yep, that one went out.
Do you use like buffalo hair and stuff like that?
I think it's a little coarse. Okay, here we go.
Where you don't want it.
Try to keep it spinning very fast. Because the more speed you have, the hotter it gets. Remember to keep that spindle straight up and down.
It smells like popcorn.
Now, if you notice, it's still smoking down here. If it doesn't keep smoking, you will not get a fire, okay? That means it's very hot. So now I fold it up. And then blow on it.
Fire right there. Yeah, I can tell too.
There you go.
$10,000, I can buy a lot of stuff.
Here you go.
Boy, oh boy, I'm struggling to start.
Here, I'll hold it. You set your foot up there. Right here.
This should be a little sharper point. See how flat it is?
Oops, you don't need that.
So there's little tricks along the way.
Keep this arm straight, so this is up and parallel. It's got to be parallel. If you go down, it doesn't work. You want it straight. You almost need a stiff arm on that side.
Wow, Charlie, like you're playing a violin.
You know, those were homemade.
Going down now. You got to hold it really. I don't think you're holding it tight enough. That's why it walks down here. You got to be snug in your hand. Alright. Use the full length of that bow. There you go. See, you generate how much heat you generate? Wait, you jumped out the hole that you're using. Right here. That's right. Yeah.
Hold this rock differently.
See how I'm
Let me
keeping
try to get you different.
the bow parallel or flat to the ground? You see what I'm saying?
There you go.
See what happens when you're out of the workforce for a while?
You're doing good.
Now, see how I lock
A little bit more down pressure.
around? See how I'm on top of
Down
it?
pressure.
Oh, that's
Now, I can increase stroke like that. Well, I'm going to
Right. It's going. But you got to get a little heat in there now. You got to go fast.
lift it up.
Generate some heat. Come on, spin it up.
Spin it.
Went out, but that's okay. So now I'm going to make
Really
this
fast and stop. Okay, now stop.
a little bit.
Now you got to be extra careful. You can add a little air to it. Make sure it keeps going. This is where 90% of the people lose their fire, right here. So now look, that's good. What you do, watch what I'm doing. Pressing down with the palm of my hand, loosening that up, air gently lifting up. Out of the way. Now you make it in a taco. You're righty? Okay. No, first, like a taco. You don't look at it there. Hold it right here. I see. Your fingers there. Good. Take it. Long, lot of air. Good, it's going. Do not open it up once you get it started. The minute you open it, it cools it down.
There you go, Charlie. You almost got it there. I see some how it goes.
Right there. You got to put air in there. There's not enough air. A little bit more.
Wrapped it like that.
You see, not enough. You then just hold your hand out here. It'll get the smoke all get back. You're not putting enough air in there.
Yeah, I think you almost got it.
There you go. Fire. Survivor.
Thank you.